Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is
Loath. Not loathe, but loath. Loath. Unwilling to do something contrary to one's way of thinking. Reluctant. So it specifically says in this definition that it's not the verb loath, which is to dislike greatly, but instead it's to sort of to kind of be set in your ways with loath. So set in your ways led me on a very specific track where there's a game like a role selection game, and by role selection I mean you choose what role or what action that you're going to embody and do for the turn, and sometimes it's more than the turn. Something like Puerto Rico does a little bit of this, and sometimes randomly assigned roles are not a role selection game because you're not selecting your role. So something like a werewolf style game, you're given your role, but instead something that you're choosing the role that you would like to be. And what I thought about it was, instead of saying what your role does, like for example, I choose the farmer and every turn I get to gather resources, or this turn I get to gather resources, and then at the end of the turn as the farmer I get to, cash in my crops or something along those lines. What I thought was the opposite to go with this loath term was that you're unwilling to do something. So what your role is what you're not going to do this turn. And all of the roles are bad things. So on this turn, I'm not going to, for example, spend money or lose money. Or they don't even have to be bad things, but not doing bad things is sort of the same as doing good things, so it gets a little weird in that. But just basically what you're not going to do on your turn. So I'm going to do all these things, and then when it comes time to choose my role, I choose the farmer, and the farmer is not going to pay taxes, even though it's not even true, but let's just say that. He might not, or he or she might not. But that's the unwilling side. So the contrary to my thinking is I'm not going to do this on this turn. Everybody gets to choose one that they're not going to do, and everybody else has to do them. And maybe we go down the line, there could be a really cool turn order mechanic, going back to my roots here with turn order mechanics, but there could be something in, I could imagine the row, or a column of all the cards that are all the bad things that you don't want to do. And everybody chooses the one that they're not going to do, and everybody has to do the other ones. So there's a neat little initiative in the order that those are going to happen in, because it could impact the way that you take your turn. I love turn order because I love initiative, and I love the order of events and manipulating the order of events and things like that. So I constantly am kind of trying to throw that into these little designs. So going with unwilling to change, another thought that I had, and this is more of theme than anything else. There could be mechanics. It definitely has a mechanic base to it. Stuck in your time and not adapting with time. So, it could be just simply driving an old car, or, not embracing the internet and computers and things like that. But I like the idea of different people stuck in different time periods and using the abilities and the tools of that era all to solve the same issue. So, and this kind of goes back to the role selection, but it's not, you're just choosing a role for the entire game. But I might play the decade of the 1970s, and you might play the 1920s, and someone else might play, the 2010s. And we all get to choose our era. I guess a decade is probably the best. We all get to choose our era, and we're all trying to solve the same problem, but we only have access to the things of that era. When we interact, I don't know. I didn't make any notes about how we would interact with each other and if we interact with each other, or even if this is a multiplayer game. But the goal of the game and the problem that you're trying to solve needs to be something that is long-standing. Doesn't matter which time of which era you're in. This problem persists and can be solved. Something like world peace is almost impossible to solve, so it's a hard one. But that's one of those things that it bridges time. You're trying to cure happiness. You're trying to cure. See if it's something like illness, then you have tools now that we didn't have before that can cure illness. So happiness, world peace, anything emotion based. It could simply just be trying to get two people into the same place at the same time, and you're just using your tools of that era. So that was my second thought, was just stuck in your time, which is not like a begrudgingly or unwilling. You're sort of forced to because of the constraints of the game, but you're stuck in that era and you're trying to get by with what you have. So there you go. That's what I have for Loath, not loathe, Loath. So if you have anything, I'm going to repeat the definition because it's easy to think of loathe, unwilling to do something contrary to one's way of thinking or reluctant. And I took that as refusal to change. All right, thanks. Let me know if you have anything, and I'll catch you again tomorrow.